Hello and welcome back to the channel. Have you ever come across an email or a website that was so realistic you were almost fooled by it even though it turned out to be a scam? Some scammers have mastered the art of replicating websites and emails from, for example, your bank. So in this episode of Web Safety Guru, I'm going to show you how they do it. So when you visit a website, you'll find that that website is made up of something called HTML. And while the web page you're visiting may consist of fonts, pictures, scripts, it's actually this HTML that is the thing that holds it all together. Web pages may actually be written in a different language, such as PHP, ASP, and many, many more, but these things are rendered as HTML, and that's what you're seeing. It's remarkably easy to appropriate the HTML from another website in most cases. And once you actually have that HTML, you can save it, edit it, and make your own pages from it. So stay tuned for a primer in how to replicate HTML from other websites and emails. I'm Terry, and this is Web Safety Guru. So in a moment, we're going to dive in and actually steal some HTML from another page. But first, I just want to explain one thing about web pages. There are essentially two types. That I'll be calling static and dynamic. A static web page is one where the information never changes. An example might be the terms and conditions on a particular website, such as the privacy policy. A dynamic web page is much more interesting because that's dependent on variables. So, for example, if you have a look at the BBC website and go to, say, the sports page, you'll notice the headlines change every day. Likewise, if you go to the football page and you'll see a league table up, you'll notice how the league table changes at the end. That's because it runs off a database. So naturally, as scammers won't have access to the database of the origin website, they find it much easier to replicate static pages than dynamic ones. So for the rest of this video, let's have a look at some examples of how you actually steal the code.
Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you a couple of examples of how you'd actually go about taking HTML from another website and then making it into a page which you can use yourself. I'm not going to teach you any advanced HTML here. That's not the point of it. I'm merely going to show how easy it is to actually take someone else's HTML and then put it somewhere else. So to start with them, I'm just going to go to Sky News. I'm going to click the right mouse key. And as you can see, it gives me some options. Now, the one I'm actually going to take here is View Page Source. And what that's going to do, it's going to open up an extra window in my browser. So let's do that. You can see that window opening now. And we're actually now going to see the actual HTML that makes up the page you're seeing when you visit Sky News. So what I'm going to do next, I'm going to capture the HTML myself. So to do that, you hold down your left mouse key. And you can see it highlighting here. That's one way. You can go all the way to the bottom. But as this is a big page, what I'm going to do is right click again and then take the select all option. And that then highlights every single thing. Okay. So on my desktop, I'm going to use my right click. And I'm going to do new. And I'm going to do text document to start with. So there it is. I'm now going to double click that to open it. Now you recall that my HTML page here with the bits in blue and they're all selected. So then right click, copy, and then going back to the text document, right click, paste. Now what we're seeing here is all the HTML from the Sky web page. I'm just going to save it as Terry Test 1. So there we go. Save. Now here's Terry Test 1. and I'm going to open it. Well, I'll show you what happens when I open it. Fairly unremarkable. You're just going to see the HTML again. So what I'm going to do now is right click, rename. I'm going to make it a HTML page. To rename this file, and I'm going to make it an HTML file. Now there's two ways you can do this. One is by having a suffix of HTM. The other is by having a suffix of HTML. Both do exactly the same thing. Now when I press enter here, it's telling me that I'm changing the file name extension. That's perfectly correct, because it was a text file. It's not going to be a text file anymore. I'm going to open up the file I've just created. Double click. And look what we have here. So this is actually the Sky News page, which you'll notice is very different from this Sky News page. Now, there are reasons for that, which I'll come to shortly. But the key thing to notice is, if you look at the menu, you've got Home, UK, World, Politics, US, Climate, Science, Tech, and so on. Now here, you've got exactly the same things. So it's actually stolen the code that makes the page. Now, the reason it looks different is because it's got something called a style sheet. And that is what tells Sky's page to display certain fonts and colours and backgrounds. Now, I don't have access to their style sheet, but that's not a problem, because if I was a skilled editor, I could create my own. The important thing to notice is we have here, for example, this picture of the Queen that was over here. So the actual content of the HTML is exactly the same on the Sky page as the page I've got here. Only some of the styling's different. And in fact, you can see here, breaking Queen's mistake over in Parliament, breaking Queen's mistake over, exactly the same code, but with a style sheet that's different. We can actually see that, and I'll briefly show you it. So what I'm going to do first, I'm just going to change this back to a text file. It's easy to open it. A style sheet will have suffix of .css. There's one relatively at the top. You can see from this bar that right near the top still. And all these things here are called style sheets. These are what determine how the information is laid out. The colours, the fonts, the backgrounds, and so on. What I have done already is shown that I can capture the information Sky is taking and then put it on my own page. You can see there's someone here playing a trumpet. So I just want to steal the picture and not the entire page. I will take my mouse over the man playing the trumpet. I will right click, and you see save image as, and there we go. It's got a file name for it. This one's actually something called a web page, but there are all sorts of different formats for images. All you need to know now is that, yeah, you right click it, save the image, click save, and then it will go in your downloads folder. So you can make your own web pages out of pictures you've downloaded off the internet, basically. So for this final test, I'm going to visit a well-known financial organisation in this country. Again, so it's nationwide. As you see, busy Bank of England changes their rate. You can tell it's a current page. And if you can look at the options here, you've got current accounts, mortgages, savings, investments, and so on. So what I'm going to do a similar exercise to last time. So I'm going to right click, view page source. And I'm going to do a highlight here. So this is the code from the nationwide page. File, save. Okay, I open it. Change the type, and again we've got our Mozilla Firefox icon. Got to double click, and look at that. What we have here, you'll see it's not the nationwide email. It's not the nationwide URL anymore. It's a URL that's actually on my computer. And let you see, you've got the Terry text too. So what you do have, though, you have all the information about the Bank of England, you have all the menu items. The styling this time looks a lot more accurate than the Sky one, and that's because some of the style sheets here I'll actually have access to them. But it does look slightly different. I don't think this font was the same. I don't think this font was the same. The Bank of England one here, and this what you're looking for today. Let's just check. Oh, they were. Oh no. Yes, you see, what are you looking for today? It appears to be a slightly different font on my version, but we won't worry about that too much now. A skilled web designer could knock up the correct styling to make the pages look identical. The key point is I've taken the code that Nationwide use, and I've actually been able to create a page similar, extremely similar to the one Nationwide will have on their homepage at the moment. The next step would then be to create a website with a very similar name to Sky News or Nationwide, and then to upload my information to that page. So people would go on sort of nationwide2.co.uk and think they're on the Nationwide page. So even there, with me doing practically nothing, I've been able to, in a matter of a minute or two, steal the HTML to create a page that looks very similar to what Nationwide's page would look like. And in fact, given a day or two to actually get the styling exactly right, you could totally make it look convincing. And then if your page has an address that is very similar to the one you're taking the information from, let's say you put let's say you had a 1 instead of an I in Nationwide here, or a 0 instead of an O. If you create that web page, then you could have quite a convincing fraud created relatively simply. So the lesson I'm trying to convey with these examples is purely that it is not a phenomenally difficult job for a skilled fraudster with computer background to create something that is a fairly believable replica of the real site. Therefore, it is absolutely essential that you check the links in the emails you get. Even up here, it's essential that if you just type it in rather than use it from your favorites or whatever, if you type it in, you want to really make sure that you're on the exact correct page. Because obviously, if someone's gone to the effort of, say, stealing the Nationwide page, they're going to give it, and they're going to upload it to a page with a very similar name. So be very careful. Check that's right. Don't allow yourself to be hijacked onto a site with a similar name, especially with financial sites as well. Make sure it's got the HTTPS in rather than just HTTP, which would not be secure. I think that basically covers what I need to show you in a nutshell. The lesson is be cautious.
Make sure you subscribe and you'll receive a notification when there's a new video on the channel. Please like and share this video, it helps spread the word. If you have any questions, please let me know in the comments. And until next time, stay safe online.